What's up, brother? Can you hear me?
What's going on? Yeah, I got you. Yeah. We're
It's
good.
all
Yes.
about the nowadays. Can you hear me? Can you see me? You know,
Are you with me?
are you with me? It's like your preferred preference. Like you want to do the Zoom, the Skype, the Chatterbait, whatever it is.
I have every single app, man. It's crazy.
It's outrageous, dude. Rafe, welcome, man. I got to give you props, dude. UMBC, my favorite podcast in the box universe. Okay, State of Combat. Obviously, you guys had another show before that, which was remarkable, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do next. I just had BC on my show about a half hour ago. I'm posting all these shows today, guys. And welcome to the show, Rafe. How you holding up, man? How's everything?
Good, hanging in there like anybody else. I've gone through a couple of jobs since March, since the beginning of the pandemic, and I'm happy to be on my feet. That's something to be grateful for in these days. So just hanging in there, doing well.
Same here, brother. And that's all we could do. And what I do to pass the time is obviously hang out with the family, my dog, things that I like. And what I love a lot, and I want to take a deep dive. We're going to go right into this.
Do it.
Martial arts films.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Let's break down the list of some of the best, if you will. What are your favorite go-tos from the 80s and 90s martial arts movies?
Well, look, I don't want to be I don't want to seem like I'm a martial arts expert, like I know what I'm watching, or as if the films I like the most are the ones that are necessarily the best or feature the actors who were the best martial artists. The one where it starts for me, man, is Bloodsport. I'm hardcore Van Damme. I've podcasted with Brian Campbell, our friend BC, since forever, and he's a Steven Seagal diehard, and I like Seagal a lot. He might be my number two, but my number one is always Van Damme.
Let's break down Van Damme's career. I mean, look at the best ones. You said Bloodsport, Lionheart. Yep. Amazing.
Yes, thank you. That is
Someone
definitely
got the score right. Someone got the score right.
Thank you, man. Somebody got the score right on that.
Kickboxer.
Yeah, I mean, look, Kickboxer is real. I remember loving it as a kid, and I haven't, when I rewatch it, it doesn't speak to me as much. Still good. The beginning, the opening montage of Kickboxer with and that guy was a real kickboxer, right?
Yes, he was. Yeah.
The brother of Jean-Claude Van Damme in that, who then gets killed by Tong Po, who's not even Thai. He, visiting the girly bars, hanging out in Thailand, that side of it is kind of a hard watch these days, but it also was the 80s. And yeah, and I'm thankful for it, because I really did enjoy the two Kickboxer revivals, like the ones that are on Netflix now, the one with Batista, and then I forget I've watched them both, but it's been nice to have that back in my life. Also, if later down the road today we talk about more modern ones, I love me some Scott Adkins.
That
guy.
Tell me about it.
I mean, he's keeping the legacy alive. Him, Michael J. White, the guys in the Undisputed series, Boyka, Never Back Down 2. Actually, Never Back Down 1. I have nothing against that either. It's not, these aren't blockbusters anymore, but the tradition lives on.
Look at the Cobra Kai series, a great television show. That's a tradition. It's got a little bit of that cheese that you love, that little cheddar cheese that you love. Has some drama. I was talking to BC about this, like a little bit of soap opera, corny, great 80s music, training montages. I mean, come on. You guys, you and BC reviewed Mark for Death, and I love the review. You had Eric Raskin on. I thought that was great. But guys, and I tell BC this all the time, he missed out on a big opportunity to talk about who did Bobby Lupo.
Thank you. Again, you are getting the score right.
Right again. Bro, that is the best scene, in one of the best scenes. I'm going to go to many. I'm going to look at many guys. But that movie, when Steven Seagal goes there and he pushes the guy in the phone booth, got the cue ball, smacking people around. You box. Whose hot dog is this? Smacks in the guys. Nobody does that. Who does that?
Steven Seagal, that is his superpower, or what makes him the most memorable as one of the great martial arts actors, is the way I don't know if it's his arrogance, he doesn't let anyone even get a shot in on him in his films. He's just like, no, I am going to shut you. I'm going to break every limb. I'm going to be as sadistic as possible. This is happening. And he, I mean, Out for Justice, the movie, you know, that tries to get to the bottom of who did Bobby Lupo and does, you know, spoiler alert, it was Richie Madonna. You know, that one to me is the best of the Seagal canon. That's the one that has just the most ridiculous Seagal stuff. Some great examples of terrible Seagal acting, like when he is talking with you know, Uncle Junior from The Sopranos, who's the dad of Richie Madonna in this film, about how things aren't like how they used to be. The kids don't have respect like they used to, all that stuff. I mean, it both resonates because there's some truth, some real life truth to that kind of that sentiment, but it's also ridiculous because of the way Steven Seagal delivers it. And then you just have all the scene. I mean, the movie begins with Steven Seagal's throwing a man through a windshield, and then the title comes down, Out for Justice. You have there's the little side plot about the dog he adopts and finding the guy who lost the dog, and the film ends with him beating that guy down. No,
the dog pisses on the
nothing
guy.
is left undone in that film. Everybody gets their beat down.
They put a bow on that. The dog pisses on the guy, which I love. That was a nice touch. The dog at the end pisses on the guy. That is one of the most perfect martial arts movies. Other honorable mentions for Steven Seagal, Under Siege 1 and 2. Other honorable mentions in general martial arts genre. I'm a huge Best of the Best fan, 1 and 2. I think 2 is the best martial arts movie of all time. People will say, well, what about Bruce Lee? And yes, I understand all that, and I get down with, you know, the Chinese connection and all that kind of stuff. I'm down with that stuff. Blood Fist, Don the Dragon Wilson. I'm going to watch that bad boy later. I'm going to have Don on tomorrow, and I cannot wait. And it's going to be an amazing time. He's a great guy. The Last Dragon, a lot of people forget about.
Oh my God, thank you.
Yeah,
I mean, show enough. Yeah, who's the baddest? I mean, The Last Dragon was, I mean, you're from Jersey, right?
Yes, originally, yeah.
Right.
I'm in Vegas.
I've been
now,
listening.
yes.
Right, I know you live in Vegas, but like, yeah, having listened to you for probably a couple of years now, right? Or over 1 year for sure.
Thank you.
I know. Yeah, I've heard you talk about Jersey. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you know, Channel 9 and Channel 11 were the same as they were in New York City back then, but whatever.
WPIX and UPN, right?
WWR and PIX, yes.
Yes,
that's and right, they would be on. Last Dragon was just a mainstay on Sunday afternoons. You would see that. Bruce Leroy, Show Enough. That's almost that's a different kind of classic because it doesn't take itself seriously. It has vanity at her like apex peak hotness, like probably around the time that she was dating Prince. That's how fine she was, that she got that Prince chose her, Carmen Electra, whoever, like the handful of other Apollonia.
Prince was mowing him down at that point in time, dude.
Prince pretty much could call his shots, it seemed, and it never made sense to us. Kind of fat, sloppy alpha male or whatever you want to call. But like, he clearly had the Seinfeld Kavorka going on for himself. And it does. I understand it. I still don't totally. I remember my father when I was growing up would just be like, this man with his ass cheeks out. You know, that never went over well in the Bartholomew household when I was growing up.
It was not accepted in the Bartholomew household.
No, not popular. I mean, it was okay with me, but my dad was not feeling it.
The big question is, though, would it last in the Dwyer household?
Look, the Dwyer household to boxing fans is one of the great mysteries. Nobody knows. BC, I mean, we know this. If anyone who is listening to this podcast coming over from the old State of Combat show, they will know that I try to stay out of Dwyer's personal life. It's not, it's none of my business. I don't want to know what the deal is. What's the story behind that
What's in the
peacock,
box?
that peacock design behind you right now, Johnny? If it's a good story, you could tell it. If it's not, it's none of my business.
It's a meditative state. This is my place of Zen. BC called me out on it too. And he's like, what's going on back there? I'm like,
this does look like your shag pad.
This is where I do podcasting. This is my place of Zen, if you will. But
so
Dwyer,
is Don the Dragon Wilson gonna be looking at that background?
He's gonna be seeing that background.
Right on.
You might see a lot more than that because I'm gonna be like super excited to talk to him. But anyway, bottom line is I was talking to BC about Dwyer, and I have my own Dwyer chase. Like, remember when BC was all over him, like trying to stalking him, trying to dog him, trying to get him on. And it was so fun to listen to because it was like, is he going to get him? He's getting close. He's getting close. I have my guy. I have my Dwyer. It's Don West. Shop at Home Collectibles. McGuire rookie cards. Be dialing. You ever seen that?
Oh, that sounds familiar. Yes.
I'm trying to get this guy. And dude, like I told BC this. I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I've had Grammy Award winning artists and Academy Award.
It can stop with Eric Roberts for me.
Right, dude. And I can't get fucking Don West. He was a guy selling fucking baseball cards at 1:00 in the morning. So Don West, I said it on the BC show. I'm going to say it all week long. I'm coming after you, and you better come on my show, brother. I want to hear about the PSA grade McGuire rookie cards. Other honorable mentions: Lethal Weapon 4, probably shit.
Ooh,
one of the best.
That fight scene, that ending at the end of the movie, I don't know if Mel Gibson is much of a real martial artist, but the scene came together and it is just incredible with Jet Li. I'm sure, and I'm pretty sure I have seen better Jet Li fight scenes from his Hong Kong era and the stuff where he's really, really working with people who know how to work with him on his level. But still, that scene is incredible, man.
It is unreal. Probably one of the best fight scenes of all time. The choreography is incredible. And what a little side note behind the scenes of this is that Simon Rhee, who played Daehan in Best of the Best 1 and 2, choreographed the fights scenes in Lethal Weapon 4. Also does the choreography in Cobra Kai. And I look forward. He's going to be on my show eventually at some point. He's a great, great guy. Him and his brother Philip, who was also in the Best of the Best 1.
He was a star, right?
Yeah. So my thing is, I can't wait to get those guys on. I need a part 5. That's another thing too. I'm going all BC Dwyer style. I keep telling Eric Roberts and all these people all the time, like, hey, we need a part 5, Best of the Best.
Do you want to see the same cat? You want to see like washed?
Yes,
Eric Roberts and washed Simon, washed Philip Rhee, washed what was the big dude who killed Chris Penn?
Brackus. Brackus is dead.
Washed Brackus. Is he alive? Is the man alive?
Bring him back. Why not? That's how they do shit. It doesn't matter.
True.
Plot doesn't matter.
Yo,
we'll put some water on his balls and it'll be fine.
Yeah, you can always figure something out in this universe. Can I ask you about some of the obscure, the lesser known martial arts films, the ones that people forget about? The one that always comes to mind first for me, have you seen Firepower?
Firepower, yes, I have seen that.
The one with Gary Daniels.
Yes, that goes back to the late 80s.
Yeah, I think it's 89 or 90. Yep. It's set in like a futuristic Los Angeles where there's a place, there's a bizarre HIV plot to this that makes no sense and is frankly extremely disturbing. But then there's also an underground fight to the death circuit happening in a place called The Zone, where the Ultimate Warrior actually is the bad at the end of this one. Jim Hellwig stars as the swordsman. And Gary Daniels is I forget there's a guy, he's like a B grade, what's his name? Sizemore.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, they're the two cops who infiltrate this unit, and they're fighting to the death. And it's a cage fight where there are weapons attached to the cage, and someone, like the boss can control who gets a weapon when. And of course, the saying that always sticks out to me is a fight where Jim Hellwig, the Ultimate Warrior, is beating the crap out of someone, and it's time for a fatality. And they release the sword, and his name is the Swordsman. And it says the Swordsman chooses his favorite weapon, a sword, and then he chops the guy's head off. It's just like that one is a classic to me. The Perfect Weapon, Jeff Speakman.
Oh man,
thank you.
The opening scene, what was it? We got the power. I got the power. He's doing the nunchucks and shit, and you're just like, oh man, this movie's for real, for real. Whatever happened to him? He like went away.
He was a real martial artist, right? He's one of these guys who was not an actor first, not a Arnold or a Stallone or a Van Damme. That I think that's kind of what it was, or maybe it just came along too late.
The genre started to get
right. It had already kind of faded into straight to video territory, but that don't. A
lot of it went straight to video. I'll tell you one thing though. I was in a Taekwondo academy when I was coming up. And my martial arts instructor took us all out to see the Best of the Best Part 2 in the movie theater. All right. So we go from the Olympics, where it's like honorable, a little bit of ruggedness, Jones, the bar fight. And then we get to Part 2 where there's death matches. And, I'm like, what? They killed Chris Penn. They killed Travis Brinkley. Like, what is going on right now? And then next thing you know, they're in a desert. They're meditating. They're training with staffs and bows. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? And that movie blew my mind. I was like, this is the greatest martial arts. And then my instructor, when we left, he was like, I am so sorry. You guys saw so much. Like, I probably was 13 or 14 at the time.
I mean, you can handle that. That's well.
Yeah, dude, I saw
if you're over 6, I feel like you're good.
I saw Police Academy in Porky's when I was like 3-4 years old. So it's all good, dude. But speaking of fighting, Rafe, I was telling BC this, I'm going to tell you the same thing, is that you guys have the best pod in the boxing universe. I listen to many guys, but you guys have this chemistry. I told BC the same thing. You are the lethal weapon. You're the Riggs and Murtaugh of podcasting when it comes to it. You got a great formula.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
Who's Riggs and who is Murtaugh?
Oh, that's a great question.
I won't be offended.
Ooh, that's a great question. Where do I go with this one? Who's Murtaugh and who's Riggs? I am going to say that I am going to give BC the title of Riggs.
I think that's fair.
And you're Murtaugh.
It's disappointing to be Murtaugh. I feel like I need to go sit on the toilet and wait for someone to help me out because there's a bomb in my room.
He would do it. He would do it.
It's true. Riggs would save my ass.
Would you hear BC on the show that I'm going to post later? I'm going to post both these shows later. He spoke nothing but love for you, dude. I was getting like feels. I'm like, oh, you hit my feel spots, But bottom line is, I want to ask you a couple questions, a lot of questions actually. First of all, when did you get the love affair with boxing? When did you come into this whole environment?
I feel like for me, it came in stages. I can point back to moments in my youth where, because I'm not like, I'm not like you, where I trained, where I fought amateurs, where I was, in the sport from an early age. And I have that real, lived it kind of experience. But there were moments when I was growing up that fights really stood out and took over, whatever, my imagination and just my household. My father was always a boxing fan. and it took us a while to get HBO, but when we did, we began watching it. We didn't have the box, unfortunately, to watch before then. But once we got HBO, we did watch a lot, and I think there were a handful of fights that just stick out in my mind as like the some of the most vivid memories I can have from my youth, like Galata Bo 1, the melee. My dad and I will still crack up. All one of us has to do to the other is say like, Lou Duva is down. Lou Duva is down on the ring apron. And like, we just start laughing, remembering that night, which is, inappropriate to laugh at, but that's part of being a boxing fan to me. Is like, it is one of the last sports and one of the last vestiges of American society where you can just laugh at inappropriate things and nobody is going to show up and be mad at you for that.
It's ironic that you mentioned that, because me and BC were talking about the same said fights. We were talking about Bo Galata 1 and 2. The first one with the, riot, which was a soccer riot, essentially. It was insane. Jim Lampley was like, he ran up and George Foreman's going in the ring, kicking everyone's ass. Like, it was crazy.
You don't want to do this, son.
Beating him with a Zach Morris cell phone. Remember that shit?
Yeah.
He was getting Galata over that with a Zach Morris cell phone. I'm like, what is happening? And Galata was kicking his ass, and he did it also in the second fight. The second fight was an absolute war. Obviously Bo goes down. He looked very thin. He looked when he went down I think it was the second round, he had the delayed knockdown reaction. You could tell the writing was on the wall, and then the writing was on the balls, because eventually Galata couldn't help himself but to swing downstairs and go back in there. But yeah, dude, I mean, like I said before, like the things you've done, I mean, obviously you're big into basketball. You've written some books, and you're obviously very, very successful, and congratulations on that. What essentially got you into journalism?
So I sort of fell into it. It wasn't the sort of thing where I had grown up wanting to become a writer of some sorts, or wanting to be a reporter or a sports writer or any of that business. Honestly, in high school, all I was interested in was basketball. And like, I think I knew, by the time I was 15 or 16, that I didn't have like a real future in the sport, that I was decent, but like, my future was as like a Division III player if I wanted to pursue that. But it still was like the main thing I concerned myself with. And I thought of myself as an athlete, and I tried, that was really the goal. My goals were based around that at that point in my life. I happened to get into Northwestern University, which has this great journalism program. And on the strength of kind of like, I started, I forget who asked me, somebody in high school who was editing the high school paper asked me to write like columns. And the last 2 years of high school, and it was just like straight humor, ridiculous, dumb stuff. But it managed to get me into a journalism program where even once I was there, and it was intimidating at first, because people would be like all of a sudden I'm meeting students who from like maybe first grade, when you have to start filling out, like, when I grew up, I want to be a blank. Like, these people knew right then, and they had internships already. They had been the editors of their high school paper. Like, this was their life. And I didn't know that for sure then. For even through most of my college, experience, again, it was really basketball guiding me through, where I had just, I was like, all right, I'm good. I was a good student, so I could get good grades, even if even when I was just, I was interested in what I was taking, but I wasn't necessarily looking forward to a career. So I would just, all right, I'll get the grades and I will go play ball in the afternoons. Cause man, I will say going to college was probably the most access I ever had to good gyms in my life. And I missed that. Like, I could go to a beautiful, beautiful gym every day. And I did. I think I counted, I got up to like over 300 days straight that I had played at the gyms at college. And then I had an ankle injury that kept me out for a minute. But anyway,
Jeez, man.
so, you know, it got me through because I like coming from New York to Chicago or the Evanston, the Chicago area. And it was a school that got a lot of kids from the Midwest. It took me a couple years to get comfortable. And the way I sort of blew off steam was just making sure I hooped every day. So it was and even though I didn't end up playing organized, played club basketball, but that I don't consider that real organized basketball.
Right.
Playing that was a way. I think it actually improved my love of the game because it just became pure. It was no longer about what I would achieve or what I would win, or if I was going to be, you know, if I was going to see my name in the daily news, if I scored 20 points or whatever, like it was in high school. It was just, you know, I do this because I love it. So that was kind of important to me too. But anyway, journalism, you know, I like going to journalism school. Even after I graduated journalism school, I wasn't sure I actually was serious about pursuing it. I was lucky enough to apply for a grant to go learn about and write about the history and the culture of basketball in the Philippines. And I went right out and I got it. And I went right after college and ended up living in Manila for basically 3 years. And that's really what did it for me, because I found this subject that I thought was the most fascinating thing in the world that people hadn't already written about. And I was learning the language. I was learning Tagalog. It was actually, that also helped convert me into a real boxing hardcore, because it was 2005 to 2008. So really, like my first fight, I remember the first Manny Pacquiao fight that happened while I was in the Philippines was the second Eric Morales fight. So like where he avenged the loss. And the final one that happened while I was there was his win over Oscar De La Hoya. So it was like the entire rise to superstardom. You know, it was like through 122 and 26 and 30, 35, and then and then this crazy leap to welterweight where he finally, where I mean, I remember speaking to the boxing writers in Manila who are normally super duper supportive of Manny, right? They are loath to ever say a bad word about him.
Absolutely.
Because it's bad for business. And even they were like, yo, this is a terrible idea. He can't fight at welterweight. He's going to get killed. And a lot of people thought that back then. Not many of us remember it. Even us who do remember it, it doesn't even seem real, because he obviously blew, Oscar couldn't handle his speed, son.
Let's talk about load watch here. I mean, it's a load watch. You know what I'm saying? Like when Pacquiao, not to cut you off, when Pacquiao came out in that fight, I told everybody that would listen, and nobody believed me. I'm like, Pacquiao's going to kick his ass. They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I'm talking about this. He's going to retire De La Hoya. He can't go down and weight like this. He already fought Bernard Hopkins at 160. He ballooned up. He didn't look good even before that, in previous fights at 160. And then he had to come all the way down. He looked terrible. He looked so weight drained. And the whole lead up to the fight, I'm like, Pacquiao's going to beat this guy's ass, man. And there was no way around it. People are like, it's De La Hoya. Who's Manny Pacquiao? I'm like, have you been watching what he's been doing for the past several years? He's been killing everybody. He's been taking souls, sending people to hell.
Poor David Diaz, man. Poor David. That single
nice
fight
guy too. What a nice guy.
Right, the sweetest man in the world. Chicago's finest. But
real estate.
I guess I'd buy a house from him. But
I would too.
That was, I think that, even though it's hard to judge because David Diaz compared to Ricky Hatton, compared to De La Hoya, compared to a lot of the compared to Cotto, compared to some of the other peak Manny wins, it's hard. David Diaz isn't quite on their level, but part of me thinks that was the single most destructive version of Manny we ever saw. Like when he just took him apart.
Yeah, I'm gonna say the best wins for Pacquiao. I have many moments with this. The Ricky Hatton in the second round was holy shit. Like I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was watching the fight with my father, and that was my guy in box, and we always watch fights together. And when we saw that, we knew it was like that's it. He ain't getting up, Jim. But that was obviously another fight where Manny unfortunately got knocked out by Marquez. The other one that I thought was really impressive was when the uppercut with Cotto, when he dropped him in the Cotto fight. And I remember saying to my friends, I was having a big party. I used to have big parties in Jersey, not quite like Hooters with Dwyer, but similar. So what happened was Homeboy comes in with an uppercut and Manny Pacquiao and nails Cotto. And right before that happened, I said to everyone that would listen in the room, some of them were diehards, some of them were casual, some of them didn't give a shit. They were just there to drink and have a party. I said, whoever wins this round, whoever gets because they were going hot on each other, bro. They were going crazy. So I'm like, whoever wins this round, whoever gets the better of this exchange will be the winner of this fight. And that's how it turned out. Manny Pacquiao's athleticism, skill, ability, agility, everything that he brought to the table. And you look at all the weight classes too. A lot of people forget that. He went through a lot of weight classes, and people can say, "Oh, PED." I'm like, I don't care. He never popped positive, So I don't want to hear any of that shit. I actually had the opportunity to meet Manny Pacquiao, and what a gentleman, what a nice guy. I was at a press conference for Shane Mosley and Manny Pacquiao. When Pacquiao came in the room, it looked like Elvis came in the room. It was unbelievable, Rafe. Like, I'm in New York City. Press conference for Mosley and Pacquiao. Back in the day, I was working for Ring Talk. He comes in the room, and I never get like that, but I was like, holy shit. Because he was like the biggest guy on the fucking planet, even though he's so small. And if you're a boxing fan or any fan of anyone inspirational, I mean, you're my heart got like, I'm like, oh my God, like this Manny Pacquiao. And my brother-in-law at the time was my photographer for Ring Talk, and he's like, let's get some pictures, because I'm like, chill. I need a moment. Like, this is crazy, Manny Pacquiao. It's like. But my point is, what other fighters do we know on this planet Earth right now that has that kind of commanding power?
No, I mean, there hardly any at this point. I think Canelo. I mean, look,
Canelo. Yeah,
I am a sort of a lifelong Canelo hater, even though I've kind of gotten religion on that. Like I'm well past. It's been years since I would deny his greatness, but it's still, I still can't. I still want him to lose every fight.
Are you rooting against the ginger? I
look,
thought you liked gingers.
No, look. So I have nothing against Ginger. I'm neutral on Ginger. It's just I don't appreciate my podcast partner Brian Campbell trying to portray me as one, especially right now. Look. Okay, so I cut my beard a little bit.
All right.
That's the red part. I just have a red beard. My actual hair, look at it. This is not ginger. I don't know what it is, but it's like dark blonde.
Look at this.
Yeah, look at it. Oh my God, look at that hair. Yeah. So no, but maybe it is ginger insecurity that keeps me rooting against Canelo. But he's still, look, he of all any fighter since since De La Hoya, Mayweather, Pacquiao, who has achieved that status, it's really only Canelo right now, right?
Yeah, it's Canelo, Anthony Joshua,
AJ for sure.
Yeah, to a certain degree. Deontay Wilder definitely had a buzz going on until he got buzzed, and I don't even know. Like, people ask me all the time, like, Johnny, like, the casual fans that when I go to the bar over here in Vegas over here now. So when I go to the bar, play some poker or whatever, people are like, you know a lot about boxing. You're a boxing guy. What the hell happened with Deontay Wilder? I said, I have zero clue. Obviously he wasn't the boxer that Fury is. That's obvious. We knew that even going into the second fight based off the first fight, but he had that bomb, but there was no electricity. And people are like, what happened there? I'm like, he got neutralized. That's the only thing I can say. He got neutralized. Tyson Fury's game plan was incredible. Everyone wants to talk to me about the third fight. I get a lot of DMs. It goes down in the DMs, as we know, and people are like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "I think Tyson Fury." I'm a Deontay Wilder fan. I love the guy. I love his passion. I love his, fire and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm like, based on what I saw from the last time with Fury and Wilder, I'm like, it don't look good, dude. And too many excuses. Deontay, if you're listening, much respect, dude. I love you, but I mean, 100%. That I cannot take away the best comeback I've ever seen in boxing history. Tyson Fury, hands down. What do you think, Ray?
For sure. Look, I mean, that is that story is still kind of unbelievable to the point that I think some of us are still not out of some kind of wishing ill upon Tyson Fury, but almost just out of basic cynicism or realism or whatever, thinking the wheels are gonna have to come off. How is this possible? But look, at this point, I'm done doubting like whether or not it's going to work out. Maybe at some point the wheels will come off, but I'd rather be wrong before than after, because it's just like he's really, really, really proven how just that he has a talent at heavyweight way above what the other fighters in the division have. Maybe it'd be interesting to see if Usyk can prove, Alexander Usyk, the Ukrainian, former unified cruiserweight champion, former Olympic gold medalist, who's much smaller than Fury. And as much as I love Usyk, I think that the size would be a problem for him. I don't think that he's figuring that out, but he is so good that I would want to see that happen. But he's got a lot of proving to do himself, and he can start in a couple of weeks when he fights Derek Chisora in the UK. But no, that like Fury's come back from the depth that he sunk to, and I don't necessarily just mean the stories he tells about how how severe his depression got and drug and substance abuse and all that. I believe that's real, but you don't even need, fighters, Fury especially, they're incredible salesmen when they want to be. And he could be selling aspects of that story that might not be 100% true. It doesn't matter. All you had to do was see him a few times at his low point when he got up to whatever, probably over 300 pounds. And nobody thought he was ever coming back to the sport. It was just sort of a sad story. He was still funny, but it was a sad story. And the way and the belief, the mental strength it takes to come back from fighting a couple of like pretty meaningless fights, right? The comeback fight against Sefer Seferi, Francesco Pianetta, and all of a sudden he's in there with Deontay Wilder. And I don't know how you saw that first fight, but I think he won that too. I mean, by getting off the canvas in that 10th round, I think he probably deserved to win that because he won so many other rounds.
He won that first fight. I definitely felt Fury had won that first fight. The knockdowns were very impressionable. The 12th round, I remember watching it. I was with my family. We were all invested. And I'm on my couch. And then the next thing I know, I'm like, holy shit, Deontay Wilder just knocked out cold Tyson Fury. And then he gets up. But if you look at, I'm glad you mentioned this, because if you look at that last round of that, the first fight,
that's where he figured
exactly
it out.
Where Tyson Fury picked up in the second fight.
Yep.
Because remember, he got up and he started beating Wilder.
He won the rest of that round. I think he hurt Wilder late in that round.
Yes. I'm like, what is going on right now? And then the second fight starts, excuse me, the first round, the second fight starts. And then you see Fury just in that ass, like, Bernard Hopkins style. I was in your ass, like all this. I'm like, and I said it to everyone. I had a big fight party over my house. And I said, you know what? I'm a Wilder guy. I don't want to cash out, but he ain't winning this fight. After the first round, I could tell. I'm like, he's getting backed up. He's got no confidence. Fury did exactly what he said he was going to do. And Fury's conditioning going into that fight made me, when I looked at him when you pulled the shirt off and all that type of stuff, I'm like, this guy looks good, man. He doesn't look too thin. He doesn't look too fat. He's just right, like he's just right. And I had a bad feeling. And then, Wilder comes in with his mask and all this type of stuff going on. And of course, we all wear masks nowadays, guys, and wash your motherfucking hands. But the bottom line is,
I would wear a Deontay Wilder mask if I could get my hands on one,
dude,
like an
lights up.
LED, yeah, the LED
It
orgy
lights up.
mask, just wandering around.
So he comes in and he started. The one thing I didn't like about what Wilder did, and I'm a big Wilder fan, but I didn't like all the excuses. I think you should have took some time to reassess the situation and just be honest to it. Like, it happens, man. Like, you got outbest it, whether it's a costume or you got laid in the dressing room, whatever it was that led to this downfall, fixed it and show your. I mean, it's hard because he's such in the public's eye, especially with that personality, electrifying personality, and I love him to death. But it's like, you go into a ring, you're fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world against best versus the best outside of Anthony Joshua. And a lot of people at that point in time were kind of like, Joshua, even though he, went through the first fight with Ruiz and the second one comes through and he looked good. But then people start blaming Ruiz and then not giving Joshua credit. You know how it goes, Rafe. And the bottom line is, like, this is the biggest stage at the moment. There is no room for error. Like, that's it. That's my opinion on it. There's no room for error. Like, I don't care if it's wardrobe. I don't care if you're getting laid in your dressing room. I don't care what it is. You're in the biggest fight of your life in front of the hugest audience, and it's the most meaningful thing right now in boxing at that point in time. You don't fuck around with that.
No, for sure. Yeah, it's look, that performance by Tyson Fury was, to me, I think even amazed me even more than the comeback, than getting back to a world-class level. That what the way he said what he was going to do, I guess, because I didn't believe it. I thought one of two things was happening. I thought that either he was just playing mind games and still going to come out and be the more elusive version of Tyson Fury we had seen in previous fights, or he was just trying to make up an excuse for why he had gained weight and it was going to be a rough fight for him. And I picked Wilder to win for that reason. I just didn't. I was like, okay, you're going to, knock out Deontay Wilder. You're going to stand toe to toe basically and back him up and knock him out without getting knocked out yourself. No one has done that. No one has even come close to trying it particularly well. I just didn't believe it, especially given the way he had been fighting in recent fights. And, the way he backed it up, the way he executed it was sublime. It was like, it felt like watching some Babe Ruth stuff, man.
He did everything he said he was going to do.
Yeah.
And when do you see that in the sport of boxing? Never.
I mean, ever. Like, because gamesmanship is part of it, right? Fighters say stuff they're going to do. And they don't end up doing it. It's not like a betrayal of any sort. It's just sort of you respond to what's available in the ring, and and a win is a win no matter what, whether you get a knockout or whether you stink it out and make the other guy look bad, and it's not a fun fight, but it's still you neutralize him and you do enough to win. I just didn't believe Fury could live up to those words, and he lived up to them and more.
Big time. Like I said, I saw it in the first round. I want to go through a couple more things before I let you go, brother, and I appreciate your time. And guys, I mean, again, Rafe Bartholomew, like one of the greatest boxing brains out there. And, I'm going to toot your horn, dude. I'm going to be honest. Like,
I got nothing to say, but thank you.
BC have that chemistry that is the lethal weapon, the Riggs and Murtaugh, like I talked about before, of podcasting. I don't listen to many podcasts, believe it or not. I don't listen to many anymore. I have a couple people coming on that do media this week and do podcasts as well. A select few. I listen to many guys, but you guys, I'm be a fanboy here. Like, seriously, the humor, the fact that you guys start a show sometimes and go 20 minutes about the most random nonsense in the world. I love it. Like, I think it's wonderful. I'm like, where are these two going today? And it gets me through a work day. It probably gets people through their work day. It gets people positive. And then you drop the science on boxing. So I want to ask you about science of boxing. Um, Recently this weekend we had Lomachenko versus Teofimo Lopez. What's your thoughts, Rafe?
Yo, I mean, it was I loved the fight. I mean, even though the first 6 rounds were slow, um, it was still, I mean, it was amazing to see Lomachenko sort apparently out of ideas or tentative to engage for that long, right? It might be normal for a round or 2 rounds, but for him to basically sit there, stand on the outside, move around, not do anything to to win a fight for half of a fight, that was insane. I almost couldn't believe my eyes, and the drama of that, even though there was not a lot of action attached to it, was really compelling to me. And then when he did flip the switch and try to turn the fight around, whether he was going for the knockout or just, you know, trying to bank some rounds, trying to get back into the fight, that pushed it up to a whole nother level. And then it had that final momentum swing where Teofimo Lopez, after being swept from, I think most reasonable scorecards would say 8 through 11. Some had Lomachenko also getting the 7th. So being, pulling real close in the fight. And then Teofimo just finding a second wind, fighting in that 12th round and really, really putting a stamp on it, winning the round decisively, hurting Lomachenko, having him wobbled. Not only did that seal the win for him in sort of the public, obviously the scorecards had him way ahead, probably more so than most kind of educated boxing viewers, I think. So he's going to win that fight no matter what. But the way he put that stamp on it and proved to everyone, whether you had that fight, 6-5 on one side or the other going into that 11th round, or whether, whatever it was, or whether you had it, whether you had him with a greater cushion than that, and but still losing a few rounds towards the end, and he looked in trouble in the 10th and 11th. He looked gassed, he looked like there was a real chance of him being stopped at certain points in that fight. Not that he was going down, but just like he looked tired, which makes sense. Like Lomachenko does that to a lot of fighters. I think he did it also to Teofimo, but Lopez, he recovered. He found that second win, and man, what a 12th round. What an exclamation point.
He needed that closure. For me, I gave Teofimo the first 7 rounds, believe it or not.
I can see that. Look, that's totally reasonable. I'm one of those. I don't really hold this up as a point of pride, especially given the way the internet discourse is done. I had the Andre Ward scorecard. I had the draw, but
I could see that. Okay, all right.
I had it knowing, I texted BC after the final bell saying, "Look, I had the draw score, but I know Teofimo is going to win this fight on the cards because he felt like he won. He felt like he was the one who did more between that last round and the way he dominated the first half of the fight." And it was just one of those things where you knew who deserved to win, even if the way I had scored it round by round ended up being the draw card. And I knew that the 2nd and the 7th were touchy. I mean, I was all right, I'm gonna give you this one, my man, but I wouldn't be surprised if everyone else doesn't give it to you.
I'm going to pull up the Johnny Sig scorecard. Hold up. I got my notes over here. All things I'm doing all right. All right. So I gave Lopez 1 through 7, although I put an asterisk next to the second round. Now, Lomachenko landed some great punches in that round, right? But the problem was it was too few and far in between.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the argument. That's sort of the. So I mean, the way I was thinking to give him the round was basically like, well, look, you didn't do shit this round, but you did land a very, very clear
Nice combination
scoring combination at the end.
Yep.
And although Teofimo was more active and controlled the round, I didn't really think that he landed any single better punch than the 2 or 3 that Lomachenko landed at the end of the round. So I was like, it was sort of it was classic hard round to score for me. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna give it to Lomachenko.
And then I had, after the 7th, I had given Loma 8 through 11.
Right.
I thought he won those rounds clearly, and I thought Teofimo closed the show big time. And I think that at the end of the day, I could understand a draw if Loma came on in the last round and sealed the deal. I wouldn't argue with that. I would be like, you know what? All right. The thing is, what I noticed about that fight, one thing I take away from an analytical standpoint is when I watched Loma in the second, I think it was the first or second round, Teofimo buzzed him. He put him to a weird spot. Like he went to the side. And I know this from experience, seeing fighters, training fighters, myself fighting, whatever, watching fights, that he went to a weird side angle where his legs kind of was like, let me get out of here for a minute. When you see a fighter do that, they're hurt. They're hurt. And I think that was the apprehension from Lomachenko, is that he understood the power of Teofimo. The game plan obviously was to, download the intent, the content rather of Teofimo, and then bring it in and then figure out how to adjust to the game plan. But when you get hurt early, that changes the entire game plan. And I think Teofimo hurt Lomachenko early.
I could see that. I think, one thing that whether he was hurt badly or buzzed enough to register it or whatever it was, he or even if he could just sense it, right? He could feel it on the gloves, right? It was clear because look, Lomachenko is not shy to go in and do his thing. Mm-hmm. Once he feels confident and comfortable, he moves in. It's not normal for him to wait that long to give away half a fight, which is exactly what he did.
Fight.
And he must something he felt obviously told him that this is too dangerous right now to go for it. And that's that's a big, huge credit to Lopez for being, for having those physical attributes, for having that size, that power, that explosiveness, that ability to keep Lomachenko guessing and unsure, not confident, make him, doubt himself, because we've never seen that against anyone. And so it was, and I wonder if it made me think about some of how for whatever reason, some of these great amateurs from, post-Soviet countries, Ukraine, Triple G, Kazakhstan, they, in their biggest tests, right? Triple G against Canelo, the first fight, especially the first fight, and Lomachenko here against Lopez, they have a problem going for it. They don't sell out. And I wonder if that's because they've been drilled so hard not to go for it if it's not there, right? If you're not sure it's there, if you ain't sure it's there, chill. And they have enough of a boxing brain to see, okay, this is still a dangerous situation for me. I should just work my jab in the Triple G case, or I should just move around the outside, protect myself in the Lomachenko Lopez case. I wonder if these fighters who have such deep amateur careers, such strong boxing brains, it almost hurts them against a more instinctual fighter, which I think Lopez is, and who has, and actually obviously came in with certain advantages in size and could equal Lopez's speed. I think Lopez was unprepared for that, for the way that, I'm sorry, Lomachenko was unprepared for that, for the way that Teofimo Lopez could step to the side and cut off all those little sidestep moves that Lomachenko usually does to confuse guys and land a few quick punches that, oh, shoot, whoa, that was pretty. That's going to be the round right there. Well, he stuffed those moves and kept Lomachenko in front of him punched, hit that right to the midsection. Also, Lomachenko, look, the guys, the British guys, the BBC Five guys, Steve Bunce, Mike Costello, for years, they've been saying that Lomachenko should stop wearing those damn board shorts and put on a cup like everybody else that comes up to his Urkel tits, because it's basically a competitive disadvantage. You could see Lomachenko's belly button in that fight. Yes. And Teofimo was landing that right straight down the middle into his midsection all night long. I think it had an effect. And I think it clearly won rounds where there wasn't much else landing. Lomachenko didn't feel like he could move in, and he would, but there were, 3 to 7 solid body punches landing every round in the first half of the fight. And he just didn't do anything to counter that or to stop it or to win the rounds back.
Brother, you mentioned body shots, and that's something Lomachenko did not do, but Teofimo certainly did. And what do body shots do? They slow down a fighter. Mm-hmm. They break rhythm. They slow down a fighter. They take oxygen away from your entire body system, and they make you think twice before you do anything. I've never seen Lomachenko until the later rounds when he got desperate because he knew he had to go for broke. He didn't do what he usually does. Spin out, use athleticism, use energy. There was no energy. Like after the second round, I'm like, all right, maybe he's gonna warm to the task. He's, like everyone says, downloading the content.
Let me ask you a question, Johnny. Like, I don't think of Lomachenko as like a Floyd type who is necessarily willing to give away the first 2 rounds. They might be a little slower, but if you look at the Pedraza fight, the Linares fight, the Campbell fight, maybe those guys were more competitive in those first couple rounds, but I don't know if Lomachenko was giving those away. I mean, like, I'm sure he is downloading information, but I kind of resist that whole notion that he's down to just give away rounds. I think that when he feels like he can move in, he moves in.
He goes for the kill. He goes for the attack when he goes for the attack. That's a great point, Rafe. Be honest with you. I think styles make fights, and I could see that he was disrupted. Chenko was, like, right off the bat. I could tell something was off with him, and both guys looked very dry. Not to sound like George Foreman back in the day in the 90s HBO broadcast. Like, he's bone dry. But the bottom line is, like, they were both. I don't know if they warmed up. They're in a bubble, and there's ventilation systems, and who knows what the temperature is in the room. Who knows what the hell's going on in 2020, guys? Let's face facts. But
athletes sleep with a lot of women.
It's
2020.
Dude, I'm going to get sidetracked right now. I got to go there with you, Rafe. You're awesome. Paulie Malignaggi. What an electric personality. I'll never forget when he was on the press tour with Bronner, and they were dealing with the Jessica situation. You remember this? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Look, I mean, that's the famous side piece quote.
The side piece.
I beat Paulie.
Oh, my goodness. And dude, I happen to have the benefit of being at a lot of those press conferences and watching the fight live. And you know what? To this day, it was a very close fight between Bronner and Malignaggi. It was very close. I was there, Barclays Center. Thank you for the hospitality. But man, the press conferences were insane. I'm like, what am I watching right now?
It was probably like it seemed like the most difficult time for the Showtime execs, for Steven Espinoza, for the broadcast team, because they were trying to promote the fight. And honestly, all of that, inappropriate drama did help promote the fight, and they knew it. So they weren't exactly trying to shut it down, but you could also tell they were like not totally comfortable with what they were selling. We're like, these guys talking about some woman who they both knew. And
shit got weird, Rafe. Shit got weird.
Yeah.
Like, I was there in attendance, and like, that's putting it nicely. Shit got weird. like I'll never forget. Like I'm at the press conferences and they're going back and forth. I'm like, what am I watching right now? Is it a soap opera? Is it Jersey Shore? I don't know what this is right now. Like Real Housewives of New Jersey. What is this? You know, like what is going on? And it was real and it was fiery. And then but you know what the thing is? It added to the event. When you got there, you're like, oh shit. You know, he took his girl, like it's like high school shit, right? He took his bitch. So you want to come in, you want to see what's going on, like who's gonna win, like you know, who's gonna get their honor and stuff like that, brother. But let me ask you, Rafe, what's going on with your day today, bro? I appreciate you coming on today. What's the rest of your day like?
Shoot, man, I ain't got nothing. Just
Same
hanging
here,
out here.
bro.
Nothing special. I'm gonna walk a dog later tonight. But other than
What kind of
that,
dog you
hang
have?
out, try and exercise. Rottweiler. We got him in LA. Adopted him at what
Nice.
is it? The North Central Animal Shelter there on Daly Street in LA. So he's been good. He loves the cold out here. We're in Michigan now, so he actually likes the snow and everything like that.
Oh, you guys got snow right now?
Not yet. No, it's
Not
coming,
yet.
but
Okay.
it's not yet. It got down to like high 30s the last couple of nights.
Holy shit.
It's coming. I remember last year, man. I remember because I was flying back from the extremely important boxing event that I covered, Logan Paul versus KSI 2, and I was the first week of November, and I flew back to Detroit, and it was a blizzard here. There was like 18 inches of snow on the ground. It was terrible. I could barely. I had to pay. Thankfully, at least at the time, I was able to expense it. But it was like $150 ride back from the airport because the Uber prices were so inflated. And it took an hour just to find someone who was willing to come and take me. Anyway, the snow, it can get cold real quick here.
And you're originally from the East Coast, right?
Yeah, I grew up in New York City.
New York City. Where about in New York?
I grew up in Manhattan, downtown. My father is a bartender at McSorley's Old Ale House, so
I
the
remember
oldest
hearing
bar in
that.
New York.
That's amazing. That's a great
And
bar. I've been
I
there.
grew up in the bar, and so we grew up, like maybe like 15 minutes away from the bar.
What's your
Probably ride
weapon
his
of
bike
choice
there.
for drinks? What do you like to drink?
I mean, I'm not super particular. I probably am basically a whiskey drinker.
Mhm.
Even though McSorley's is lighter dark ale, it ain't nothing but over time it's been I kind of got it's hard to drink that much beer, man.
It's so hard nowadays. How old are you,
Right?
Dave?
You feel it. I'm 38.
Okay, I'm 42. Beer, a couple here and there. I'm a vodka and seltzer guy. I love
Oh, that drink. It does feel good. For whatever reason, I end up. I mean, I
refreshing.
live with I live with my girlfriend. She's a whiskey drinker, so I drink. So like that's what's around. That's kind of what it ends up being. But it's. I'm also kind of down for whatever. Like I have a weird thing, like at gas stations and liquor stores around the
Well, I
way.
know about BC, the gas station food.
Well,
You told us
he's
about
a
that
gas station
earlier.
hot dog guy. I would get whatever weird ass malt liquor drink they have, whatever I haven't tried yet, whether it's the new Four Loco or the Buzz Balls, whatever
The
disgusting
buzz
drink
balls.
they
I'm
have.
going to go a step further. All right. I was talking to BC about this earlier today, and he was talking about gas stations, gas station food, and shit like that. I'm like, you know what? You know what else I have at gas stations? He's like, what? I'm like, dick pills. He's like, what?
Oh, that
I
Black
don't
Ant
need
King.
them. But what the black? Thank you. Someone got the score right. Eric Raskin.
Jarrell Miller got the score right.
He got the score right. It was so funny when Kevin Mavelli and Brian Raskin talked about this. Rather, Eric Raskin talked about this on their show, and they opened their show with Black Ant. I'm like, I know about this. I'm like, holy shit, because I fuck around with it every once in a while. You need an extra kick. It's anniversary. You need to go out on the strip into Vegas. You're gonna have a good time. You need a little supplement. You need a little PED. And so I fucking went out there and I bought one of those things. And when they mentioned that, I was cracking up. I was telling Brian, I'm like, it's not only about hot dogs and greasy, nasty food. You get a nice dick pill over there.
They got it all. They got it all. What else do you need? You get a buzz ball, you get a dick pill, and you get a hot dog, and you straight.
All in one shot, dude.
Right. That's why
That's a
convenience
one-stop
stores
station
exist.
right there.
That's right. Well, hold up. Before anything else, I actually wanted to, I'm not done. I still have Lomachenko Lopez thoughts I wanna run by
Okay,
you
we'll
and,
go
and
back to
ask
after the
you.
dick
I
pill
hate to
conversation.
backtrack on you, but the second half of that fight when Lomachenko comes on and he's, Lopez didn't look too comfortable backing up. It's not
Not
something
at
we've
all.
seen him do ever before, really, in his career.
Mhm.
And obviously he had to get through some fatigue and find that second win to have that great 12th round. I guess my question is, based off that second half of the fight, how do you think that Lomachenko could have done better if he had started earlier? Because part of me I believe, even though it would have been more dangerous, he might have gotten knocked out. It could have, that is definitely in play if you're stepping to Teofimo Lopez early in a fight. But he won a lot of those exchanges. He did well in that second half of the fight. Part of me thinks that if Lomachenko had trusted his ability to react in the moment, to, keep himself out of the worst kind of trouble while also getting his own offense off, he could have started earlier and maybe had a different outcome to that fight.
Rafe, I totally got to agree with what you're saying right there. The second half of the fight was a completely different fight. Loma understood what was in front of him. He adapted, and when he opened up and actually backed Teofimo up, there was a response from even Teo's corner. When Lopez went back to his corner, his dad's like, when he comes after you and pushes you against the rope, hit him with use your elbow, get him off your face. Don't let him do that, because there was a reason that they brought that up. And I think the reason is because Teo maybe doesn't know how to fight on the back foot.
He doesn't have a let's talk about Teofimo Lopez's back foot game.
He doesn't have a back foot game.
That was a brief conversation.
It's exactly. So what happened was, I think that they understood that they were in some difficulty. And, Loma, ironically, it was a flip side of the coin, is that I thought that Lomachenko was going to be more like Teo was, and it ended up being the reversal of the role. Like, I saw Teo being more like Lomachenko, and when I saw Teo backing him up, and I thought Loma was going to outbox this guy. I thought he was going to have a couple grueling rounds and then eventually figure him out, which he never was able to do. But eventually he had to figure out a different strategy. So the different strategy was, after about the 6th or 7th round, he's like, I got to go for broke. His trainers were telling him, Lomachenko's trainers telling him, got to go in there, got to kick some ass. So he pressed him, and he did a great job. Some combinations really hurt Teofimo, really hurt him. I saw it. He was fucked up, dude. He was having a hard, difficult time against the ropes. But then he followed his father's advice about pushing off and getting him away. And I think that saved his face in the 10th and 11th round. To answer your question, Rafe, I think that if Loma fought that entire fight, that strategy, that way, more like nuts and guts, like a Tyson Fury did to bookend what we talked about before against Deontay Wilder, he would have beat him.
Yeah, it's possible. Of course, the flip side of that is that there's a much greater chance, and we saw a little preview of that in the 12th round, right? That there are going to be rounds where Teofimo is going to find a lot of success responding to what Lomachenko is trying to do, and he has the power to hurt him, maybe even stop him. So he would, obviously that would, I think it gives Lomachenko the better chance of winning. It also opens him up to losing by a stoppage.
Yeah, I mean, that was a fight for either guy to win. Obviously, I think Lopez came in with a better game plan. I thought that for me, Lomachenko was just going to go in there, and it looked like to me he's just going to figure it out like he always does. It's another day at the office, but he didn't really think. I don't know if they really thought about what they had in front of him, because you have a young, hungry, strong-willed kid in front of you. So you got to be careful of that. It's a different animal. And if you look at what he did to Richard Comey and Lopez prior to that fight, that was impressive. Because if we look at what happened with Comey prior to, like, he was fucking running shit. Like, he was kicking ass, man. He was knocking people out. And then you got this next situation where you got Lopez coming in. Like, you got to be mindful of that. And it's not just another day at the office. Like, this is something special. It's for the unified. And I know there's asterisks with the WBC. I'm not.
To me, it's no asterisk. I mean, like that the belts that were won in that fight are the actual belts that were won in previous fights. The franchise garbage came after Lomachenko beat Luke Campbell, and then Devin Haney got like the fake belt, beating some guy nobody ever heard of, like at the Garden at one time. Like that, like this was the real thing.
The worst thing, I agree with you. It's the real thing. The worst thing is when you have to explain boxing to people. When like, what is this IBFW? I'm like, no.
You don't even want to know. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth it, man.
I'm like, it's not worth your time. Just enjoy. Hopefully the fight's good, and hopefully you come back again. You know what I'm saying? So, Rafe, the rest of your day, what are you doing today, brother? I appreciate your time, and this was a great, excellent experience.
No doubt. Yeah, I'm gonna walk Bear the Roddy. Nice. And try and get a little workout in tonight. Other than that,
you doing a little taekwondo. What are you doing for the workout? What are you doing?
No, well, so nothing as sexy as taekwondo. Back in March when it became clear that I wasn't going to be spending a lot of time at the YMCA anymore, I went on Craigslist and picked up a recumbent bicycle to get some cardio in. I got some kettlebells here. And, just whatever I could do around the house.
I've been fucking around with golf. It's the worst sport. I mean, I like it. It's beautiful. It's great to be outside, but it is hard. I'm fucking around with tennis. I go to the batting cages. I've always been a baseball player, big baseball guy. Obviously boxing, mixed martial arts and MMA and all that type of shit, taekwondo, Muay Thai. So I'm trying to find different things to do with the family. And the major frustration is golf. You ever tried golfing?
Other than mini golf, I've never done any of that stuff.
I love it and hate it. The best part is when you get to the 9th hole, you get to go drink. You get to go to the bar.
Wait, why? That's like halfway. So are there drinks on tap after 9? How's that happen?
There's a bar there. So usually what happens is, like, when you tee off, there's a bar. You get like your little breakfast sandwich and drinks and whatever. Because in Vegas, you got to go early. Because nowadays it's a little bit better. But if you went in the summer, like by 11 o'clock, it's like 120 degrees, dude. It's fucking nuts. So, you go out there, you have a little sip, whatever, Arnold Palmer, a little spiked up vodka with it, tee off, and you do your 18 holes. When you get to the 9th, luckily there's a bar halfway, which is the best part.
That's a good plan.
That's the best part. It's like you're driving, you're hanging out with your homies, doing your thing, teeing off, golfing. And then the best part is that I get super like enforced powered up that after the 9th hole, I'm like, when I have a drink or two, I'm like, send it. And I have like a golf instructor that's helping me out. But my thing is I always go back to baseball. So like, you can't lift your front leg. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Watch this. I send it into outer space, dude. And that's the best part. And I tell you what, dude, like you in BC, I hope you guys continue doing what you're doing. You are a phenomenal combination of knowledge, fun, and just, positivity, dude. Like I can't say it any better. And, hopefully moving forward, we get you guys a couple times a month doing your thing.
No doubt. I'm sure we will. I mean, I look at it in the long term, right? I mean, Brian and I, like the reason we started was actually martial arts movies. It was like, I heard him on the old, I forget even what it was called now. It was Patrick Connor's boxing podcast. Now it's called Knuckles and Gloves. But before, I think it was Top Men. It had like 6 different names over the years. I mean, which is not different from Brian and I. So I heard him show up on that, and I knew he was at ESPN, but I was in LA and he was in Bristol when we were at ESPN. So we didn't know each other. But I heard him on there, and he just went on this like 30-minute Steven Seagal rant, and I was cracking up and like fist pumping the whole time. And I was like, all right, next time I'm at a fight, I got to find this guy. And that's, and because of that, I sought out BC. We hit it off. I love his daddy. And we got it on from there. We were able to start a boxing podcast at Grantland after that we got, almost a year out of before they shut the website down. Then we kept it up in, on our own when he was still at ESPN. Then when he got to CBS, we did it there. It went through 3 different names, and I think that whatever the situation is, as long as there's boxing going on, as long as there's a way to put some kind of podcast or other conversational thing out there into the world, BC and I will be doing that, whether it's, for the hell of it or for one of us making a little bit of money.
Well, a lot of people want to hear it, dude. And we all know the hustle in this game, especially with boxing, podcasting, or just podcasting in general, or just life in general, But what I always love about you guys is that you're always a lot of fun. Whenever I see you guys pop up in my iTunes or, whatever feed and outlets I listen to, I get happy. It gets me through my day. And that's what we're doing. We're shooting the shit. And I got to give you much respect, Rafe. I appreciate you coming on. I'm going to post all the shows in a little bit. I got BC in a great interview. I got you in a great interview. And many more things to come this week. It's going to be a rollout.
I'm waiting for Don the Dragon, man. I need that Blood Fist podcast.
Oh, it's coming, dude. And I'm going to tell you something about Don.
Billy Blanks was in that too, right?
Yeah. The thing is, real quick, guys, like Don the Dragon Wilson, I'm going to reveal it, will be on the show tomorrow, I believe.
Sorry, I thought you said that earlier.
Yep. And he's a badass, man. He's a great guy, a fun dude, one of the best direct-to-video martial artists, actors that you could ever see, and just amazing. I can't wait to break and chop up things with him tomorrow. Rafe, thank you for chopping things up with me today, dude.
Thank you, man. It's long overdue. Anytime you want to, run it back, I'm here.
What are you doing tomorrow?
I gotta write a couple stories for youbetyourass.com.
That's what's up. Tell everyone what you're doing, Rafe.
Nothing. So for the boxing heads, I have revived my old boxing newsletter, thankfully being sponsored now by the new boxing, TV franchise, Ring City USA. They're basically trying to revive the old USA Tuesday night fights idea on NBC Sportsnet. And I think their first show is November 17th, and they got a good main event. It's Mickey Roman against Oshaki Foster, Ludabella fighter. And they're basically trying to do high-level club fights, good matchmaking, fun, middle of the week stuff for hardcore boxing fans. That's straight for us. And thankfully they came to me and they said, just do your old newsletter, right? Just fun, find funny stuff, write a little bit of, write one sort of serious thing at the top, and then you could do whatever the hell you want after that. It's fun to keep writing about the sport, stay engaged and have an audience.
The sport of boxing. And I cannot thank you enough for coming on, brother. We will run this back.
Let's do that
again. All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you, brother.